All right, let's do it. Let's hit the books, part of the Hammer Betting Network, alongside the man, the myth, the legend himself, Mr. Joey Knish, Zach Phillips, producer extraordinaire behind this amazing channel and this amazing show. I'm merely Blue Horse's bitch for week 0. Horseshoe's bitch, I should say. So I'm Brad Powers, and we will recap the 7 games from this past weekend. Unfortunately, we did on the show go 0-2. Probably should have been 1-1 if not for a quarterback injury that took the life out of not only the total but the side as far as Ohio, San Diego State. It could have been a lot better. I can tell you that on week 0. There was a lot to meander through as far as what do we think about the new rules? What do we, is there any major takeaways to get from that on an individual game basis, on an individual team basis? Knish has some conference futures that he took part of that he sent me. And I'm anxious to talk a little bit more about this team because I agree with Knish that I think they've been undervalued. So we'll get to all that and more. But first, let me remind everybody that Hit the Books is brought to you by BetStamp. The easiest way to improve as a sports bettor is to use multiple sports books and always get the best odds. We recommend using an odds comparison tool like BetStamp. BetStamp compares odds across every sports book for games, futures, player props. You can save time and money by checking BetStamp before you bet. Download the app today. If you are looking to sign up for a new sportsbook account, please check out the offers available at betstamp.app/hitthebooks or hit the link in the description. If you sign up through this page, it does help support the show. Knish, what's happening, man? You and I were chatting back and forth on Saturday. I wish it was on better circumstances. You wait all off season. You hope to hit the ground running with a bunch of wins, and that wasn't the case. What's happening, man?
Oh, but you know what? Listen, I will say, you know what? The blue horseshoe in all his glory on Fremont after the Navy goes under because they can't. That new Navy offense looks a little bit kind of like the old Navy offense, but worse. So yeah, that was unfortunate. And then our boy Curtis Rourke gets a little dinged. I thought like when he got hit, I was like, is he knocked out? Is his ACL gone again? Yeah. Apparently, the coach comes out and goes, no, he's fine to be playing against Long Island this week. Well, if he's playing against Long Island, why don't you put him back in the game so you could have beat San Diego State. So, yeah, a little bit frustrating week 0. I'm not going to lie to you, Mr. Powers, but hey, we got plenty to talk about. We got week 1 on deck, and excited to get into it.
Yeah, let's get into it. We'll start with Ireland since I did have personally a pretty big bet, a little Twitter war with Mr. Steve Fezzik on the game on the total. And I mean, I'll be honest with you, I was pretty confident early on. Notre Dame's marching up and down the field. Navy's running tempo, I think you said, for the first time since World War II. And then they stopped running tempo. They used it for one drive, and it was working. They got a few first downs, and they discontinued using it. There was a couple missed field goals. That would have put the game over the total. There was a ridiculous, looking for a push late in the game. There was a ridiculous call on 1st and goal at the 4. Let's run a halfback pass. And they had to settle for a field goal there. It wasn't the best way to start off the season. But I will say this. I know it's just Navy, but Notre Dame looked pretty good. And particularly what looked good was Sam Hartman. Makes a hell of a lot of difference. And folks, quarterback makes all the difference in the world in today's day and age of college football, especially when you got a 24-year-old that started 45 games, the all-time leading passer in the history of the ACC. I mean, he's basically an NFL quarterback, not an NFL quarterback like, he's Trevor Lawrence or Patrick Mahomes, but he's a guy that could be, quality NFL backup for the next decade. That's who Notre Dame has at quarterback right now in Sam Hartman. So Irish look good. Navy, not so much. My win total over 5.5, I think, is already in question on Navy. That's how bad they looked. Well, what say you, Knish?
No, I'm with you. I'm like, listen, I don't want to go like the all over week 0 overreactions here, but I mean, my biggest takeaway is like this Navy team. If the offense is going to look like a little bit more like the old offense, they had no team speed whatsoever. And that's not how people say, it's a service academy. Like, there's always usually like at least one explosive player, an elite fullback type, a quarterback they had none of that. I mean, there were plays where there was opportunity for, 15, 20-yard play, and they're getting 5-7 yards. Like, they just had nobody on offense, that wide receiver, running back, quarterback that I thought could make. So I'm concerned. I'm concerned about the head coach. I'm concerned about the defense. I'm concerned about the lack of any playmaker on offense. So to me, I think it's a kind of an indictment on Navy season. I agree with you that, and I heard some other shows like with that they'll be okay. They'll still make a bowl. I don't know. I'm not. That would be. I know they were outgunned, but I'm concerned if I'm a midi going into that one. And as you said, I mean, we talked about it all last year. The Notre Dame quarterback position didn't like any of their options.
Yeah.
It makes their ceiling like there's games this year. I mean, obviously they play a tough schedule, but last year I don't think they had any shot to beat a USC and Ohio State, a Clemson, teams that are on the schedule this year. Sam Hartman gives them that opportunity. And I think the ceiling is a lot higher than what I even thought going into the season for a team that they got a guy now. They got an elite level college quarterback. I think that can make all the difference.
So I'm gonna touch on a few things. I can't agree more on as far as Navy's like slot backs. Usually they have a guy when you get that pitch to the outside, he's capable. I mean, it's like 10 yards in a heartbeat. Didn't have that guy. You were mentioning there were some opportunities we had, just weren't there. They didn't hit any explosive pass plays. If you're going to go with Lavatai at quarterback, you would hope that he could throw it a little bit. Didn't even attempt it, really.
That was to be honest, even on the designed pass plays that were open, the passes he threw were like a high school quarterback throwing. It was like, what if this guy's going to be our passing quarterback? He can't pass, so he can't run the ball. Why is he playing?
So many plays. I mean, their first series they had on fourth down, the two guys run into each other with cue the Benny Hill music. I mean, they defended themselves on the pass play that would have been a first down at the 10-yard line. Missed opportunity. I'll put it that way. I think Notre Dame's ceiling probably is definitely higher with Sam Hartman. We're not going to know, really. I think next week at NC State's a pretty good test. We'll see what Notre Dame looks like next week. This week, Tennessee State in an FCS school. We won't find out anything more about Notre Dame. Let's start diving in to some week one matchups with some teams that played last week. Let's talk Hawaii, because you mentioned to me before the show you liked Hawaii enough that you thought there was some mispricing in the conference futures market specific to Saturday's game. I mean, you go through the box score, you rewatch the game. Hawaii's a 17-point underdog, could easily won that game outright against Vanderbilt. Outgained Vanderbilt by about 100 yards, -2 in turnovers. They had 2 scoreless trips in the red zone, including they had a first and goal inside the 1-yard line, ended up in 0 points. Vandy had a 97-yard kick return touchdown in the game. Hawaii looks much improved. I know a lot of people, and deservedly so, get on me for talking about bets I made in May. Last week, and as in last week, I mean like last Wednesday or Thursday, I bet Hawaii's win total over 3.5. I couldn't believe it was still sitting there. This is a team that was mispriced at the end of last season. Looks like it's going to be mispriced at least at the start of this season. And Timmy Chang knows the point spread. He went on one show. He knew the exact point spread of the Vanderbilt game, and he knew his exact team win total. He's paying attention. I like that in today's day and age. Let's say you can Knish about Hawaii. Obviously, we're buying here.
Yeah, I mean, I like that. So we thought the offense, the run and shoot, the year 2 Schrager and all that would look better, and it did. The deep, it's either probably a combo somewhere in the middle. But if I'm Vandy, my O-line, like Hawaii, I think they had like 3-4 sacks, 7 tackles for loss or something. They couldn't run the ball at all on Hawaii. And so to me, I mean, you're looking at, I agree, like Timmy Chang, what he's doing there. And this is a team, we talked about, what are the conferences where we think there could be some long shot future potential. Conference USA is one. Most people didn't agree. We respect a lot of the teams there. The Mountain West, I'll tell you what, Mountain West futures, Hawaii was priced, and they're still priced somewhere like New Mexico. Let me tell you something. They are a lot better than I think going into the season. They played Vandy basically in a box score. Even maybe you could argue outplayed them a little bit.
Yep.
There's some 125 to 1, 150 to 1 still out there. Circa reposted 35 today, and I think 35 is a lot closer to fair than. I mean, you're seeing Bet Rivers 150 to 1. Listen, I'm not telling you it's going to the window. It's probably a value, but the team should not be 150 to 1 to meet the. They don't play Boise. They don't play Fresno. They look a lot better on defense than we thought, and the run and shoot year 2 looks like. And again, you said it, Timmy Chang. Hey, I love that he's paying. I love that he's using all the things that get his team motivated. So yep. I think they're a lot better than even we had a small upgrade for them going into the season. Think they might even be a lot better than that. And if you got access to that 151 out there for the Mountain West, absolutely worth a sprinkle.
Couldn't agree more on that one. I think this is a bowl caliber team. And if you're telling me in that conference where there's not much disparity in that middle tier, I don't disagree, Knish, on that one. Let's talk quickly because you and I mentioned this. We mentioned it multiple times throughout the later part since we started redoing the weekly shows in August. We said pay attention to the Hawaii Vanderbilt game. If there's something off, disparate from that point spread in that game, you're going to see a big difference in the Hawaii Stanford week 1 point spread. Lo and behold, that's the case here. Now we have Stanford down to a 3.5 point favorite against Hawaii. I know a lot of people are going to say, oh, Hawaii money line, they're live. I don't like their spot here, to be honest with you, Knish, not at this price. You could have been in, obviously, at much different prices, 10.5, 10, 9.5, 7.5, 3.5. No, because keep in mind, Vandy game's delayed, gets over late. They got a late plane ride back, and they got a short week this week. I mean, they're playing on a Friday, so I don't like and obviously that was a very competitive, close, physical game. I don't like their spot here. I mean, how do I, price that? I mean, I don't know, but it's a point or so, I think. It's a bad situational spot for Hawaii, and I'll say this multiple times. I've done the research the last couple of years. Last 20-plus years, 200-plus game sample size. It's better to have film on your opponent than it is to actually play a game. You're talking the teams that have actually played a game in week 1 and have that game under their belt advantage are 45% against the spread. 200-plus game sample size, 20-plus years. So gets to 3. I'm laying it with Stanford. What say you?
Yeah, you know what? I think a lot of obviously we know Hawaii look good. They're coming on there, but you know what? I wasn't as low on Stanford. I love the coach that Stanford hired and that brought. Now again, I think they're obviously they got a lot of roster transition. But I'm tending to this seems to be a little bit too much of an overreaction here. I mean, if a game that was open 10-10.5, then down to a touchdown. I mean, we were saying like kind of stop by anything of like under a touchdown, and now when we're getting to like 3.5. Seems to be a touch aggressive there in terms of unless Stanford is really down. I mean, unless we're talking about like they're taking a year 0 here where it's going to be like and I know the real regular season win total got hit under a lot of people significant downgrade, but this would have to be like a level further 3, 4, 5 points worse than almost anybody had Stanford kind of coming into the year. And I believe in the coaching staff they hired. So I don't think it's going to be that bad. So yeah, at this number, it could only be a Stanford play for me, but I'm not sure. I know Hawaii's going to look better than we anticipated. I guess it's a little uncertain here with Stanford, but I totally agree. I mean, I would never play Hawaii at this number anymore.
Agree. Let's wait, though. I know a couple guys in the chat. Richard Jacobson, should we try the middle? Not yet. Let's wait and see if it goes to 3. There's still going to be nothing but optimism coming from Hawaii's camp all week long. We'll see if we can get a 3. I will play Stanford back at 3. That's me. And you're talking to a guy that's got Hawaii already in pocket. Let's move to a couple other games. Let's talk about stay in the Mountain West. San Diego State, a team in the Mountain West. I wasn't that impressed. They won and covered. And major reason why they won and covered, quite simply, Ohio's starting quarterback Curtis Work went down. We're talking about the MAC preseason offensive player of the year. The backup has experience, but he throws 3 interceptions. He just doesn't have the timing. He's missing guys wide open. Ohio controls the box score. Still could have, made it a game there. Missed field goals, missed opportunities. That was a right side loser. And I'm not, I'm not always going to say that. But that was the case in that one, Knish. Unfortunate loser for us here. Particularly, I thought that was a good bet by you, especially with it closing 2.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, I was like, I had a tweet crafted up, when Curtis Work is first out there. I'm like, I think he's going to be like a mid-round NFL player. Like, he looked so in control, so good early. And then he goes down. You thought it was like, oh my God, is Ohio season out the window? Apparently, he's okay, but
Yeah.
the offense was not okay without him. And then even with CJ, like gun to my head, am I taking CJ Harris over Jalen Maiden? Yeah, I'd still take their backup over Maiden. Maiden was rough, and I agree with you. There's a number of things. I don't think San Diego State's defense is at the level it's been in past years. They obviously lost a lot of talent off last year's defense. The passing game, I mean, Maiden was really erratic. I know they hit a couple of plays, but he's just a guy who's like down to down is not going to give you consistent accuracy. And a couple, I mean, it was turnovers. I mean, CJ Harris, 3 interceptions. If he doesn't make those, I still think Ohio's at least covers, if not is able to.
Yeah, our number,
there.
yeah.
So, yeah. So that obviously, hey, I mean, it's one of those you just gotta, take it on the chin and right off. But yeah, I think we have the right side there. But hey, the Rourke injury was tough. But I agree with you. Like, to me, the biggest takeaway there is San Diego. Don't let the win fool you. That San Diego State is, I think, trending in the wrong direction as a program, and will be a team we'll look to fade later in the year.
Yeah, I don't see. I mean, their running backs looked okay. They got a nice tight end. Nobody at wide out. Don't have a quarterback. And I thought their best defensive player was probably the New Mexico transfer, that Cody Moon kid. I agree with you. I do think they're trending down. That's a team. I'm anxious to see how they're priced. They got UCLA at home in a couple weeks. That'll be an interesting game for them. CBS night game, primetime. That'll be interesting. I'll hit a couple things in the chat. Oh, first off, Bob, in the chat, 200-1 you can find on Hawaii at Bet 365. How about that?
Yeah, if you can bet there, a couple other smaller shots. If you can bet there, 200-1 is definitely. I think you can probably cash that out in a week for Bet 365 for the profit. So 200-1 worth the click.
Steve in the chat, Brad, concept question, Navy, Notre Dame. Yeah, week 0, week 1's hard because, I mean, I bet that in May, like 3 months ago. I took the 21.5. Sometimes it's just market anticipation. Is it likely to go from 21.5 up, or is it going to come down, through, relatively, I'm not going to say key, but secondary number in 21? And that was just a market anticipatory move. Shame on me for not, betting back Notre Dame a little bit, even though my power ratings called for it. Notre Dame's I wouldn't put too much in it. I'm a little too negative as far as Notre Dame than I should be. I'll put it that way. That's a personal flaw for me. Let's get to a couple more in the chat. Let's talk another team that impressed last week. UMass, obviously an outright winner as a 7-point underdog against New Mexico State. That was one I happened to get right. Although, box score, little bit misleading, particularly, 48 points in the fourth quarter put that game way over the total. That was a little bit of it. New Mexico State, yardage edge, turnovers the issue again, -3 for New Mexico State, including a pick 6. But I got to tell you, rewatching it, man, UMass is, I would not be a bit surprised. UMass, I'm not going to say bowl team, but this is a 3-4 win team this year because of transfers. They have some talented guys. Puma Chana at quarterback's an athlete, man, almost 100 yards rushing. I thought their offensive play calling was good. The way they used that number 8, the wide receiver, on some jet sweeps and whatnot. The running back, 15, Adams, can make some plays. They got some dudes at defensive end. Their 2 defensive tackles are 300 pounds. Their 2 guys on the edge can get after the passer. I mean, this is not the worst team in the country anymore at the FBS level. And you look at their schedule, they got, there's a lot of games that are in play now. Let's just if they play like they did against New Mexico State, there's a lot of games on their schedule that they can win. So, I'm not a huge Don Brown fan, but he kind of petered off at Michigan there, but he's doing a really good job at UMass. Keep in mind, win total open 1.5 for them.
Yeah, I think safe to say they'll be all right with that one. I agree with you. We've watched UMass over the last, 5. It's like their wide receiver one's always like a 5'6" white guy. Like, they have no team speed, any of that stuff. And now they really crushed it in the point. Some of the guys that they've, taken there might not be the most refined players or guys that couldn't break in, elsewhere, but look like a totally different team from an athleticism perspective. And that Don Brown defense, well, he got cooked a few times versus Ohio State. I think against some of these, secondary, he plays super aggressive blitzing style, man defense. I think that rattles a lot of opponents, especially teams without refined passing games or struggles on the O-line. Like, I just think it works well against a lot of like the middle to lower tier teams in college football. And that has an advantage. And you saw New Mexico, I mean, forced a lot of turnover. Now, again, they gave up a few explosive plays, but they forced a number of turnovers. And that kind of was the difference there of turning over Pavia a few times. So, yeah, I think, hey, they might be one of the most improved teams in the country. I know there was some the number against Auburn's come down. I would agree with that. To me, like, did they look like the most, coherent, functional offense? No, but bottom line is they got way better playmakers. And finally, a quarterback that could do something for the first time in a long time. So I agree. They are, if not one of the, we'll see after this weekend, but I can't imagine they're not one of the most improved teams in the country.
Yeah, speaking of this weekend, in the chat, Greg in the chat, UMass plus 38.5 at Auburn. Steve in the chat, UMass plus 39. Yeah, I mean, I had bet them before the New Mexico State game against Auburn. I think that's the right side, and we've seen the line movement here. Just natural progression. We got one data point, very positive for UMass. You knew that line would come down. We're sitting here at 36.5. I don't think it's going back up to 38. I'll put it that way. In fact, I wouldn't be a bit surprised it closes 35, to be honest with you. Look, with the new clock rules, and we can get to that. And in fact, I'll ask you that. I don't want to be laying a big number here because this might impact a little bit more than what we thought. Too small of a sample size to start. I want to put, and there was extenuating circumstances. I'll tell you, there was. I'm not sure that those were great data points. Those games. As far as what we just saw, but let me get into that, Knish. Are you rethinking anything now? We're heading to week one, particularly like an Auburn team laying a big, huge number. If we are going to have a possession or two less, significant number of plays less. What's your thoughts on it? I know you're tweeting about it.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't want to go into this whole, get off my lawn rant about college football, but I don't like. You just keep making these changes, which none of them seem to improve like the actual fan experience or the gameplay or any of that. I agree with Mickey, new clock rules. I agree. Like, I don't want to see less plays in a college football game. It's kind of a unique thing. But in terms of how it affects the betting, I agree and now you said, week 0, there was a kind of a weighted amount of teams that have like a rush-based offense, or like the FIUs, the Navies, the UMass, teams that just want to run, so it gets more of an effect. I don't think it'll have overall that type of, overall effect. But in games, as you're saying here, where UMass against Auburn, they're probably going to try and go real slow, hand it off a bunch of times. Pumachan's going to run a bunch. And I agree, like, all you got to do, it was like, the year for Navy and Army to actually go back, like run the old triple option, this is the worst year ever to go tempo and change the offense. They should go back to the old style and want to do like a 4-possession game. So, but yeah, I think it's going to affect specifically when you've got like teams head to head that both kind of want to run the ball. We'll see some like Big Ten, Iowa versus Illinois, or that type of game where both teams want to go real slow and line up. I think it's going to have definitely, maybe more of an effect than we were even waiting going into the season.
Guys that are watching right now, make sure you're smashing that like button, and also make sure that you're hitting subscribe. I was told that out of our viewership last week, 78% of the viewers are not subscribers. Make sure you're subscribing, folks, if you're watching live on YouTube or if you're watching after the fact. A few others. Let's keep it in Conference USA. In the chat, how do you like that New Mexico State Conference future now, Knish?
So here's what I'll say. I am not as down. Now, are we going to say I'm feeling great about it? I will say I'm not as. I still like. Listen, if you gave me a 40-1, a 50-1, I'd still play. I'm still down on Griffin Tuesday. I'm okay with what UMass or New Mexico State did on defense. Pavia, a little bit of a walking turnover. They mixed in some Eli Stowers. I'm not totally out on New Mexico State after game one. It was a close game going into the fourth quarter. Right. Obviously, lost the turnover battle, pick 6 and all that. So, listen, am I going to tell you that a loss to UMass was how we wanted to cook that up? But, hey, listen, baby, I believe in Jerry Kill to get it together.
Yeah, I didn't downgrade them that much from that one. And a lot can happen in first game situations. James in the chat, 78%, same as Blue Horseshoe trends on week 0 unders. Yeah, it was trending really good for him. And then I tweeted out, hey, he's going to go 10-0. And then promptly we saw 3 games fly over the total. That might have been done on purpose by me, but we'll see. His big one, and we'll get to this game later on. His big trend, this week is Cal and Stanford are sad because the Pac-12's gone away. So he likes North Texas. I got that text a month ago.
We need a hashtag narrative segment on this. I didn't include like the Maui thing in my Hawaii write-up, and I'm regretting it all. I'm having FOMO that I didn't include that narrative as part of the future give out about how the team's rallying for Lanai or whatever. But I agree. The Blue Horseshoe loves himself a good narrative.
He does. Speaking of narratives, what'd you think of Dana Dimel's short yardage play calling against Jacksonville State? That was our other loser. We had the over, got in front of another mover. Knish is very tuned in. There was multiple people going over. We saw the tempo of all the teams that played on Saturday. Jacksonville State was the one team played with tempo, just inefficiency. And, man, I'll tell you, the first play call on short yardage, they ran that play in the bowl game against Fresno State a couple years ago and scored a touchdown. I thought there was holding on the play that they didn't call. That one didn't bother me, but my goodness, a chance to tie the game. You got short yardage as a program. You want to lean on that offensive line. That's your strength in the ground game, and they throw it twice. They don't even attempt a field goal to force overtime. What the hell was that?
The fourth and one, like I was not much surprised me that much anymore after in this game. The fourth and one, like I almost gasped when he didn't hand it off and he dropped back. The whole drive, it was like 130-degree real feel on Jacksonville State. All they could talk about was how baked both teams. They were running the ball down their throat on that last drive, and they throw it twice. And I'm thinking, like, we're in field goal range. Maybe we can suck out like an OT, week 0 here, 17-17. We'll go to OT, see if both teams can score TD. Maybe we can feel. Unbelievable. I know one of my guys also bet UTEP pregame and second half and was like in orbit. So I mean, if anything, I'm downgrading Jacksonville State after that performance because I thought their offense was brutal and it was just mistake after mistake for UTEP. Dimmel is like your just like throwback, like head of just. I'm going to be conservative. I'm going to make the wrong call. He reminds me of like the CUSA Brady Hoke of just like, we want to run this up and we're going to throw it at the worst time.
I know. I don't get it. Stay conservative.
I don't know what you do. Like, I don't, and they actually have like, I like their talent kind of on the roster more than like more than most in the conference, but just a horrific decision making there. I can't believe they lost that game. And this isn't like the New Mexico's. That was a conference loss, which they need. It was a team that obviously I've got some UTEP futures that a game they could not afford to give away. So that was a rough one. That was an all around rough one. Rough on the total, rough on the side, rough on the future, rough on Dana Dimmel's career. So brutal giveaway there.
Rough on the season win totals.
Yep.
For a huge swing game for week 0. That was unfortunate. Another unfortunate thing on Saturday night, FIU's passing attack, 4 yards. I would argue 5 of the 7 games were very misleading. This one should have been a total dominating Louisiana Tech win. They did control matters. They scored the last 19 points to get the win. They deserved to win. I didn't think that was going to be the case, but FIU was very one-dimensional, and not UMass, FIU, folks, right now, the worst team in the country.
I totally. There's a couple books posted 3.5. Their season win total out there reposted. I went under. I played some under on the 3.5. I went through the schedule. I'm not seeing 4 wins after that, but I know they were. No. If you just watch they were on the cusp of it, but Louisiana Tech was doing everything to give that game away. Turnovers, 3 missed field goals. And I agree. FIU, they could not execute a passing play at all. And we talked about a little bit with Jalen Milroe and the Alabama, where and these teams that you just can't run this base RPO rush-based offense anymore. Too many teams know how to defend it. You're just not going to be able to successfully execute on offense when all you can do is an RPO run-based scheme. So it was rough. I mean, I would go under there.
Yeah, I went under there.
Yeah, I've under 3.5. I don't see 4 wins. I went through the schedule. I don't see. I mean, yeah, I would agree with you. Worst performance by a mile. And we didn't give it out.
That's at FanDuel. That's the biggest book. Let's put that in.
Put it in, baby. I bet some yesterday at a different, but I agree with you that put it in as an official. We didn't, I'll give you, this is where we always complain about the bad beats. I had some FIU at a bad number to the close. And that was one of those where you're sitting there and that we're like, oh my God, after looking at the box, I think it was 400 something yards to 180 total. So yeah. Brutal performance. If you laid La Tech at any good number, you're that's about it, kind of on the same level as our Ohio one there is in terms of a bad beat.
Yeah, college kickers, couple missed field goals there. I mean, who would have thought week 0 we got missed field goals left and right in the college game. One more game, and then we'll be nothing but week 1 from this point forward to recap from last week. I can't believe I'm saving maybe the best for last, but USC, San Jose State, same old for me, USC. Yeah. All offense, no defense. I mean, San Jose State wasn't particularly a very good running team last year. They went up and down the field. Chevin Cordero looked like the best player in the Mountain West. I mean, if you watched him play.
And they didn't, their wide receiver one Lockhart didn't play.
Yeah, he didn't play. The Knish kid that converted, used to play quarterback, converted. He looked very good. Yep. Both running backs for San Jose State looked good. Their offensive line looked good, handled USC's supposed much improved defensive front. I mean, SC's got some guys on the defensive edge, but I don't see a lot of big guys in the middle that can handle at the point of attack. I don't like their secondary. I don't like their game plan on the defensive side of the ball. Obviously, a ton of weapons on offense at the skill position. I mean, they got Zachariah Branch. I mean, was probably maybe the breakout player of the weekend.
Yeah.
I still think they're better than last year, but I'll tell you. I mean, they get matched up against the Georgia or Michigan in the playoff. You know who I'm taking. I'm not taking I'm not fighting on. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, that was. I thought they get Barry Alexander. They really loaded up on guys in the trenches, and they're still getting pushed around by San Jose State on some of the, especially a lot of broken plays that they. I don't know what Alex Grinch has on Riley. I know it's one of those classic scenarios that coaches sometimes have too much loyalty to their boys, their good friends. You've seen it a few times. It is another scenario where Riley really should have went out in the offseason and got himself a different DC. Because I agree with you. It shouldn't be this bad. There's too much talent. It's not the greatest talent, but there's too much talent on this defense to look like that. And it's going to cost them when you got a generational QB there. I think it's going to cost them a shot at a national title. I mean, they've got everything on offense you could want to contend with anybody. But if the defense is going to be below average still, I don't know how you get that. I don't even know if they can get through the Pac-12 with that. So yeah, that was tough to see from you got to hope that USC has a little bit more in the bag there in terms of what they can do, because it was ugly.
Yeah, it's the little things. On that first scoring drive for San Jose State, Cordero picks up a first down easily on 3rd and 22. He just runs and just total bust. Speaking of bust, they let San Jose State with seconds before halftime get a touchdown. Another broken coverage. The wide receiver gets behind you when you can't happen on a 30-some yard pass. Little things that you would think would be corrected. I know it's just week 0. Circa, I thought was interesting. They reposted the Nevada game on Sunday morning. 40. I took Nevada. I'd already bet Nevada. I was like, I don't know how you can watch that USC game and upgrade USC from that one. I went ahead and bet Nevada there. That was surprising to me. Did you? I'll just use this as a blanket statement. Was there anything that you bet on Sunday morning that was reposted as far as the week 1 slate?
No, I mean the only thing was grabbing some UMass. Honestly, and that was one that was we talked about was up grabbing some UMass I think there was plus 39.5, plus 40 still. I know someone in the chat said 38.5. Yeah, I like it to 38 still. That was one. I agree with you. And some of the tempo things as well were kind of game in terms of games to keep an eye on, in terms of teams when I know it's going to be too, high rush splits, high rush based attack. But I tend to agree with you that where what's Nevada need? 14 points to cover that number in terms of are we going to see a USC defense hold a team to 7 or 10? Especially if, when it gets to be, I'll tell you another thing that I noticed there was the lack of, and this is very, you saw it with Michigan and Ohio State last year with McCarthy and Stroud, and I think you're going to see it this year with Caleb Williams. Only going to run in high leverage games. He did not run a lot in that one. I don't think he's going to be, he's too valuable. And so I think you're not going to see too much of the Caleb Williams, scrambling or design runs or any of that. Just because it's not worth the cost for it isn't that. So I think that'll be a little bit of something to monitor in teams of how then maybe they bring them out a little bit earlier in that. So that'll be interesting to see there. But I tend to agree with you on that one. That I'm surprised it opened back 40.
Looks like, am I reading this right? We just got money donated to us as we're doing this. Cap-wise, that's Ben Carey just donated $4.99 to Zach. Shout
Cup
out
of Tim Hortons for producer Zach. He deserved it, baby, especially with that great edit. He had us looking good, baby. I tell you, neither of us are that good looking in real life, and he really had he had the edit looking fire.
Who is good looking in real life is Zach. I got to meet him face to face. I
was hearing. I got told I can't mention his love life anymore on the official show. So I
didn't see anything. I wasn't there long enough. Post show Friday night, I had some drinks with some other people. But I
heard a little Kuma, bury the hatchet there. I'm glad to see that.
Yeah, I shout out to Colin Wilson. He came up to me. I gotta tell you, he came up. I'm entering the conference room where we're gonna broadcast the Hit the Books live show. And he's like making a beeline towards me. I'm like, what is going on here? Is he going to punch me or something? I'm getting into a fight stance maybe. I'm like holding this big Hit the Books banner. I'm like, I don't know. I might have to use this as a weapon. But no, kudos to him, Colin Wilson, burying the hatchet there. We have our go-arounds. His Tennessee power rating is still wrong, though. But that was nice to do that. It doesn't have, how it is, Knish. We're all different on Twitter than what we are in real life.
100%.
Face to face. I actually liked it. It was like an old school conversation. Shout out to him on that. Shout out to Ben Carey and the $4.99. Hopefully Zach gets all that and not the Pizza Man because Zach deserves it.
Agreed.
Yeah. Hopefully Pizza Man gets none of that. That should be all yours, Zach. Let's talk. Before I start talking more week one games, I got to hit this. That is, speaking of Circa, which we broadcasted the show on Friday, we still have the Circa Million and Circa Survivor contest signups. Make sure you guys are signing up before the deadline. That is September 9th at 2 p.m. Eastern. $14 million in guaranteed prizes. There is no rake. So if the entries do go above the guarantee, all that extra money is going to the prize pool. You must register in person at a Circa Sportsbook in the state of Nevada, Las Vegas, Henderson, Sparks, Reno. Weekly picks can be made through a proxy that you'll have to register with. From anywhere. Circa Million $6 million, $1,000 per entry, maximum of 5 entries per person. You pick 5 teams against the spread each week. Winner takes home $1 million. There's quarterly and season-long prizes. Booby prize for the worst, $100,000. Circa Survivor, that is $8 million in guaranteed to the winner. $1,000 per entry. Maximum entries is 10. Pick one team straight up every week to win. If the team loses or ties, the entry is eliminated. You can only pick each team once during the season. You got to go 20-0 or be the last person standing to win. If a single person wins, they get the entire $8 million pot. If the multiple people go 20-0 or they get eliminated the same week, they'll split the pot. Thanksgiving and Black Friday combined for a week, Christmas Day, its own week. That is the Circa Million 5 Circa Survivor contest.
Still huge overlays in both those contests at the moment. I don't know if
everyone's last minute, man. But this would be the big weekend here. And then all the next week's big because we still have no NFL. The NFL machine will get going here in the next week. Let's go to week one here. And keep in mind, guys, we do have a Friday show. So we're going to be talking a lot of week one even on Friday. This won't be the last time we talk to you until Saturday's games. But I'd like to focus, since that is the case, let's focus on Thursday's game. And there's been some injury news. Obviously, Florida, Utah. Cam Rising, last time you and I talked, likely out. Friday, it's reported that he's probable. Where the line's 4.5. It goes up to 7. We've seen a little bit of buyback, on Florida, even at 7, down to 6.5. We gave it out, and I still love our position here. This was Knish, plus 8.5 a couple weeks ago. What's your thought process there? I think the under's a sharp play because they're not running Cam Rising. And even though I don't like this Florida team, I just think with a banged-up Cam Rising and hasn't practiced much of the summer and fall camp, I still think they're the right side if you can still get a 7. What say you?
I still don't think he's playing. I'm not going to listen. I'll put it out there. Listen, you can have people can have egg on my face, and we can, people can troll me on Friday's show if he does. I still don't think he's going to play. I think it was a big thing about, he gets listed as QB1 on the depth chart. Utah, Whittingham has a long history of, playing the game. They're not doing that, whatever the Big Ten's doing about, injuries, trying to standardize it. Pac-12 not doing. Pac-12 not even going to be around in the next year. So they're not doing any of that stuff. So I think it's all for show. Some info again. This can be wrong. It's never 100% guarantee. But I don't think he's going to play. I think it'll be one of those things where he goes through warm-ups and all that, and then maybe right before the game it gets broken or something like that. But I still don't think he's going to play. I don't know if their tight end's going to play either. There was some anything at if there's. I know most of it's been bought up by now, but hard not. We always said 7 or better on Florida was the buy, and that's still. But I think this is if it gets announced beforehand. I think it'll go back down.
Wade in the chat, Whittingham talking earlier yesterday. I haven't gotten to that yet. He's about to start his third string quarterback.
He's been, all of this stuff has been very, even Cam Rising talking about, well, if I can't play, the other guys know. So, I still don't think he's going to be able to go. But, hey, we'll see. I've been wrong before.
Speaking of injury news on a weekday game, we've seen a lot of back and forth on Miami, the battle of the Miamis. Miami of Ohio, Miami, Florida. We got Tyler Van Dyke banged up. He's 50-50 at best is a report. We see money come in on Miami of Ohio. Then it gets reported that, he's probably going to play. A little bit of buyback on Miami, Florida. Did you take part in anything here? I had a pizza bet on Miami of Ohio when it was first ruled that he was going to be 50-50. Under, I think, is probably the correct side here. Did you do anything with this Miami of Ohio game on Friday?
You know what? I saw the report early, so there was a little bit of 17.5. I didn't saw the report today, so just bet a little. But I was on before any of this. I liked Miami, just a bit as a small, lean in that. But I still, judging by what info came out today and what some of the people think of the original reporting source, I think he's probably all right. And under 17 would be a small play on Miami of Florida for me. But I didn't think, too much of it. And I know Miami of Ohio is probably going to, really drain down the tempo. I'm very cautious again after the disaster that was Miami of Florida last year, of them instantly turning it around. So again, they'll have way more, obviously out-talenting a MAC opponent here on the road, but it's not something I want to invest too heavily in.
Spammy Sosa in the chat. Speaking of a Thursday game, do you still like Kent State plus 37? My power ratings love Kent State plus 37. I know you hate Kent State this year. I downgraded them more than any team in the country. I think 37 is too much. Do you want to go head to head here? I know you love UCF. I love UCF this year, and you hate Kent State.
Well,
goodness of my heart, I'll give you 36.
Oh wow! I did play some Kent State at numbers. This is a very a power summer lines here of the numbers I played UCF at. Here's what I'll say. It's just UCF, and people ask me about that. Has the number gotten too high now? Yes. The issue I have is there are certain teams when they're big chalk going against an overmatched opponent that I don't love to fade, just based on the fact that UCF, they're not going to slow down. They're going to be running 7-second plays the entire time. It doesn't matter if it's 49-3. They're still going to be going and running and trying to bury somebody, and the bounce house is going to be so. It's more of I agree. The number now, bit inflated situationally in terms of how UCF plays and how bad I think Kent State could be, and just the way that Malzahn and like the program in general since Scott Frost was there is like, if they can put up 70 on you, they're going to try and do it. They love to bury these overmatched teams as like a program mantra. So, but I agree. I wouldn't lay any 36.5, 37 now, especially with UCF, as we're saying here, UCF's a team that's probably going to run a lot. The running clock could take a little bit of away there. So, just numbers wise, I agree with you that it's gotten too far away now.
Yeah, the BP Sports Stout service is close to giving out Kent State. Probably need 38, but you mentioned it. I can't, out of the back of my mind, I can't get last year's Temple game, UCF game, out of my mind. It was a weeknight game. The whole world's on Temple. It moves like 5-6 points, and it's a 70 spot. UCF just keeps running, like you mentioned, Knish, their offense on that one. Let's hit another Thursday night game because I want to get these out of the way. Nebraska, Minnesota. We like Minnesota here. We're laying the 7. Knish,
I laid some. I got a juice 6.5 today at one book that had 6.5 minus 120. I bet some more. I don't know who the Nebraska people are, but hey, listen, this is one I'm pretty weighted now on Minnesota. And this is, I'll pay to see it. I'll pay to see the first game of the Matt Rule era with a coordinator that I don't like, with defensive tackles that weigh 240 pounds against an O-line and a team that wants to mash. I know the total has come down quite significantly, so I think there's some correlation where people are saying, well, the total is 42, 43 now, so I'm going to just buy over a touchdown as a little bit of a correlation. I understand that, but I don't see it. I don't see it with Nebraska at all. I don't think, especially early in the season, I don't think this offense is going to be able to go in there and have any success. And I just think matchup-wise, Nebraska, I think they'd be better off against, some of the teams in the West that aren't built like Minnesota. And I didn't downgrade Minnesota that significantly at the quarterback position. I know they lost a couple of linemen, but they've got 5th and 6th year guys. They've kind of got it rolling now. I still think they're going to be able to kind of run what they do. So yeah, if you got a flat 7 or a 6.5 minus 120, or our friends at Proline there at 6.5, you run down to Timmy's if you're in Ontario. I'm not backing off it. I actually added some more today.
Makes sense. My original position earlier this summer in Minnesota, and we see Nebraska money every damn summer come in. It's just I don't know what it is. Hasn't lived up to expectations, certainly under Scott Frost. And Matt Rule, while I think it's a great hire historically, his first years have not been good. And you're right, the offense coordinator hire, I'm not a big fan of. So that'll be an interesting one on Thursday. Final Thursday game I want to hit, NC State, Connecticut. We've seen a lot of Connecticut money. In fact, I think I saw my first 14 show up in the marketplace earlier today. Man, if it crosses through, I got a Connecticut ticket. Whoa, big surprise there on a line move. 13.5, I'm laying it with NC State because I made it right around 15.5. But what say you? Have you gotten involved in this game? A lot of money on the under also.
This one, I pulled, I just to bet both sides here. Connecticut early, NC State when it touched them 14. Just if you have no position on it right now, I agree. Like I would lean that way if it goes back to flat 14 or even crosses through to a 13.5. I think you have to bet NC State there. I'm a little bit more bullish on their offense this year. And again, I know UConn was definitely improved, kind of a little bit too much. I think just even numbers. I know you are a little higher on this game. Some other numbers people I talked had this more around the original 17, 18 range. So I think you'll see. You already saw when it's flashed to 14, it's gotten bought up pretty quickly, and I think you'll kind of see a trade in between there. So it's one of those where, if you can find yourself a flat 14 or crosses through, buy that. Otherwise, I think to me it would be nothing at the 14.5, 15.
Cameron in the chat. What's been going on with these books being extremely slow this year, putting up lines involving FCS teams? Well, they're always slow. I mean, they were particularly slow on Saturday, but that was FCS versus FCS. I know I got hit in the forums because I don't know. I gave out leans at noon on a few games. I don't know. I mean,
I give it. Five Dimes used to post these games and basically would create the market for after where they would put up all the numbers and then everybody could feel comfortable enough that a book's have been posted. Five Dimes is gone now, so now instead of having the source that everybody would use for that, you've got to create your own number, or you're copying somebody that's not. So books are hesitant to do it. The limits are obviously not as great. It's just not going to be this. And you've seen it not just with FCS football. It's what a ton of these niche markets that Five Dimes used to post, Little League World Series, auto racing matchups, that they used to be kind of the global originator. They're out of business. Nobody wants to take those up. So sucks. It is what it is.
Yeah, FanDuel was the originator on Saturday of the FCS versus FCS.
News to me. Win bet.
Yeah, news to me because a couple of them lines now. They moved a touchdown. I won South Carolina State. Didn't matter what number you got it at. They ended up moving 9 points, and that was one that was way off. But yeah, who knows? It could be different. Now, keep in mind those are FCS versus FCS games. We'll see. Maybe it's different. Circa in the past has actually been the first to put up FBS versus FCS.
Yeah,
let's see what happens on Thursday when we get a few of those matchups like Wake Forest, Elon, stuff like that. That's a different market. So we'll see what happens there. I'm not optimistic. I'll put it that way. I'm not. It was really good for a few years. I don't expect it now anymore. I can't be expecting on that to pay for a vacation. Fezzik in the chat. Is this the real Fezzik?
I don't know. I hope
has three major books that the line is at. 3 is all? 3? Fully documented. Thank you. Is that Mr. Fezzik for watching this? And I hope everyone out there is hitting the likes. We're almost to 100 likes here for the first time ever. I'll ask Fezzik and we'll see if he claps back. Is that 3 major books that when you're sending out picks at midnight Eastern? Because I get a few of those picks throughout the course of a week during football season. And you expect everyone to get those? Although I got to tell you, man, we can get into this game quickly. I think he's got the best of me on another fucking game, and that's North Texas Cal.
This is your
market does not like my Cal Bears. You mentioned it weeks ago to me. You're like, hey, I'm hearing not so great things about the quarterback. I dived into it. At first I was like, whatever. And then I dived into it further. Yeah, I'm not hearing great things. Market disagrees with me. But I'm here to tell you, I still like Cal. I'd lay the 6.5. It's my biggest position right now, week 1. I still like Cal, and it's not only a pro Cal, and it's pro Cal because of this. I don't think the market has the transfer portal figured out. You would think Cal's not a program that would bring in a ton of transfers. High academics, Stanford can't bring in transfers. Cal somehow has 20-plus transfers. I think they're not getting priced accordingly. Massachusetts had 20-plus transfers. They weren't priced accordingly. And North Texas I like their head coaching hire. I'm just not sure that it's there for game 1. The worry that I have, it's supposed to be really hot. Maybe Cal, slows down, wears down. They're bigger athletes, in the trenches aren't in shape. I don't know. I like Cal in the game. What's it? You break the tie, Knish.
I would. You know what? I tend to lean that way as well. And it's more of a North Texas fade. I'm not as bullish on Cal as you, but I agree. I think North Texas is in for kind of a significant downgrade. I think Cal's defense can still. The favorite play, and it got steamed to hell earlier today, was on the under there. I mean, there was some, like mid-high 50s. A lot of it now 54.5. That's one. I don't want to give it now that it's gotten absolutely blasted today, but I liked that. Gun to my head, I would still lean Cal now that it's back under a TD. But I know the horseshoe's calling for the mean green outright. So we'll we'll have to see there. I'm skeptical of the Cal offense as well, but there's I think one unit you can really trust, especially with everything North Texas lost, and it's probably Cal's defense. And so that would be the side I lean now that it's back under a TD. But not something that I'm dying to jump on either way here.
Brickfield's in the chat. Bud Elliott said North Texas outright. Is that what that is? Interesting. I do respect Bud quite a bit. Maybe I'm just on an island here.
Even though he said Navy's still going to make a bowl game on it. I listened to the recap show. Navy, I don't think Navy's making a bowl game, my friend. Tell Bud if he's listening. If we want to cross on some Navy making a bowl game this year, I'm willing to, because I'm not seeing that at all.
Fezzik back in the chat. Circa 411 Bet Online are open at 11 p.m. Fez, it's not about me, Grandpa Brad. It's about your customers, man. You're a tout service. You gotta worry. Is your normal guy back east in New Jersey? You are a national service, aren't you, Fez? Is he going to be laying at wait for your text to come in at midnight on one of your plays? That's all. We'll continue this online, Fez. It's not let's not destroy the show here. Good luck though this weekend. Yeah, friends of the show did hit that under in that Cal North Texas game. Had some other plays. A lot of totals hit the board today. From Sharp Services. Anxious to see how those do. I am charting them because obviously the lines have been up for 3+ months. I want to see how those do with those movements. Let's get to a few more and then we'll close it up. Is there any games that you're really looking at? I know we hit all the Thursday games. You and I are talking Friday before those games kick off. What are you looking at? Is there any best bet here? And we still have, I believe, 6 more that are available right now. Illinois for me, and then obviously Knish is on a bunch of stuff that's already moved. Anything that's standing out to you right now?
Jason in the chat asked about Texas Tech, Wyoming. That is one of the games that I actually played under today. Okay. I think in terms of what we saw from week 0 and the rule change, I think Wyoming is like the classic case of a team where the total probably isn't adjusted low enough based on how they're going to play extremely slow. They're going to line up and want to run the ball. I like Texas Tech's defense a lot. And I know, Texas Tech is more kind of on the other, the side of the coin there where they're probably going to go a little bit faster in that. But Wyoming's one of those teams where, and I think, at Wyoming there too, the elevation, they're going to want, I think their defense is obviously the strong suit of that one. That's one I played some under today at basically what's out there currently. Some 52.5, some 53. There's plenty of 52.5 out there. Kind of one I'd be okay to 51.5. I think it's one that you'll see a little bit more of an impact on that game based on how Wyoming plays on the total and the slow. And especially if they can run the ball a little bit on Texas Tech, they're going to try and do these, 10, 12, 13, 14 play drives that take up 10 minutes and go massive and just play that Craig Bowl type of style. So that's one that I was looking at today. And I believe there was a service out there that tried to set that one up a bit to go to because they wanted to play it a certain way. I'll give you that. So that's one that I like anything to 51.5 or better on that under.
We going official there? Because we got
if you agree, then hey.
Yeah, I kind of like Texas Tech in the game. It's one of many bets for me. I just lean that because I just think there's a big talent separation. I think Texas Tech's defense severely underrated, especially up front. They got 2 dudes. I know they just lost a guy that went 4th in the draft. I'm telling you, they got 2 more dudes on the edge. Yeah. I think they're conservative on offense because they got Oregon on deck. I don't like Wyoming's prospects at all. They're down a couple guys at running back. I don't like their passing threat at all. I don't know how they score. So I could see – I think this has like 31-14 written, something like that all over it kind of. So that's where I'm at on that one.
We got the blue horseshoe blessing. Oh, well, is this a consensus 3-way lock here?
Yeah, we'll go. Look at that blue horseshoe. Love it. 52. All right.
Yeah, I listen. I was one of the games I was looking at in terms of like going through all of them after what we saw Saturday. Who's gonna have which team is gonna have the biggest effect on? And Wyoming was one that flashed to me where it might not be as baked in as what we could have thought based on just how they play.
Plenty of 52.5s out there, even at FanDuel too. So make sure you're shopping. Breaking news: we did for the first time ever hit 100 likes. We like to see that. I mean, to say the least, that's good. Any other things that we got? Keep in mind, guys, we're hitting at you on Friday. We already have a bunch of best bets. We would give you typically a lot more best bets on the show, but again, these have been up for 3-4 months. Best bets will come from me starting next Monday at 9 a.m. Eastern. We're going to give out, it's going to be called our release show. We will start that next Monday, but unless you got anything else, we'll wrap up today's show and talk to everyone on Friday, Knish.
Yeah, no, and I know what, Friday I'll get into a little bit of first half and team total stuff on Friday, that because like all this week one stuff has been out for a while, so we can't, not too much new there if you've been watching the show, but we'll do a little bit of more like the alternate stuff that we usually don't get into for Friday's show to give out some more stuff. I got might have a bet on the Michigan game, but we'll save that one.
You and I already crossfiring on that one.
We crossfired on that one, but I got something. I got a little something else in the pocket for that game that we'll save for Friday's show.
I will say this before we pay some bills. Looks like we got a star-studded viewership today because Mr. Muscle said the Wyoming under is going a little bit.
I was going to say we got some. There's some moles in the chat here listening to the show.
So the steam is heading. Mickey Hill real quick in the chat. 9 a.m. for my release show. Me and Knish are always going to be 5 p.m. on Monday on that one. That's just going to be me. I'll, good, bad, or indifferent. We're going to try to get in front of the market, and that one will be all on me on that one at 9 a.m. But Knish is the star of this show. And speaking of this show, I want to thank each and every one of you that hit that like button. For all of our show updates, make sure you're following at Hit the Books HQ and at the Hammer HQ on Twitter. Make sure you're subscribed to the Hit the Books YouTube channel so you get notified in real time whenever a new episode drops or we go live. If you enjoy the content, please smash the like button. If you're listening in audio form, please rate and review 5 stars. For the man, the myth, the legend himself, Mr. Joey Knish. For producer extraordinaire Zach Phillips. For everyone in the chat, I'm Brad Powers. You just watched Hit the Books.